dust you will return.
That's
but
kind
the
of
Lord
scratchy.
Jesus Christ lives forever.
Scratchy, isn't it?
Amen.
Yeah, it is a bit scratchy.
Sorry about that.
GBNews, the People's Channel.
All too often, people will be sitting at home watching a press conference live, and they'll hear loads of questions being asked, and they'll be thinking, that's not my question. That's not my concern.
We don't care whose feathers we ruffle. We ask the questions that you want answering.
You're all standing on the street protesting and wanted to have an open discussion.
My name is Patrick Christie's. I do a show for GB News in the UK. Is it possible to talk to you quickly?
Journalism in this country has been a cosy world full of groupthink until now.
Well, this is the best view ever of Whitehall, looking out across all the tractor drivers of England who've come together to make their point.
Hello, so as you can see, I'm here in Westminster as the protest begins.
Yes, I'm very much in the thick of it.
Look, we're challenging narratives here at GB News, and that's what sets us apart.
Good morning, 9:30 on Tuesday the 3rd of March, live across the UK, Britain's Newsroom with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates.
Well, is the war in the Middle East destroying our special relationship with America?
It's my duty to judge what is in Britain's national interest. That is what I've done, and I stand by it.
Donald Trump says he's very disappointed with the Prime Minister for not allowing him immediate access to Diego Garcia. Today he claims the government is pandering to Muslim voters by not backing his war against Iran. The Tory leader Kemi Badenoch agrees.
Across the UK, there are groups whose political loyalties when it comes to conflicts in the Middle East do not align with British national interest.
Well, the US Secretary of State for War, Pete Hegseth, has also taken a swipe at Britain.
Capable partners are good partners. Unlike so many of our traditional allies who wring their hands and clutch their pearls, hemming and hawing about the use of force.
And Israel's President Isaac Herzog urging Western leaders to do more in the face of ongoing Iranian aggression, speaking exclusively to GB News earlier.
I think it's a moment of truth for leaders in the free world, and Britain is a top leader in the free world. Honestly, we know and we share a lot of interest together for many years, and I think the picture is very clear.
Overnight, US and Israeli missiles hit key targets in Iran, as America has warned that a big wave of strikes is coming.
Hardest hits are yet to come from the US military. The next phase will be even more punishing on Iran than it is right now.
But don't worry, the UK won't get involved because, you guessed it, international law.
We are not joining the strikes, but we will continue our defensive actions in the region.
Well, Britain's first evacuation flights from the United Arab Emirates has touched down at Heathrow Airport overnight, while thousands of Brits are still stranded in the Gulf this morning.
Fuel duty fears the mounting pressure mounts on the Chancellor to scrap an incoming fuel tax hike due to the conflict in the Middle East, which has seen oil prices spike.
Well, this afternoon the Chancellor will deliver her spring statement as the Iran war escalates.
And what do you think of this? An inflation-busting pay rise. MP's basic salary will increase to £110,000 by the end of Parliament. It's a 5% annual rise.
Well, I'm not sure that Rachel Reeves will be particularly looking forward to delivering her spring statement today. We're not expecting probably too many announcements, but she does have £3 billion to find for special educational needs.
Policy light, but also is she going to address the clear problem we've got with our defence capability? Is she going to say that they'll raise defence spending sooner than expected? People might want her to.
And what will she have to say about inflation? It has been gradually falling, but oil price spikes threaten to send it up again. That will make it very difficult for the government and for people at home.
And that will also, of course, the cost of servicing our debt will rise and rise and rise. As ever, tell us what you think. Send your views, post your comments by visiting
gbnews.com/your say. But first, here's your 60-second news update with Katie Bowen.
Good morning. The headlines at 9:34. President Donald Trump says he is very disappointed with Sir Keir Starmer's approach to the war in Iran, adding it was sad to see that the relationship between America and Britain was not what it once was. Well, overnight, US Secretary of State Marco Rubio said the hardest hits on Iran are yet to come. This morning, the Israeli military began launching new strikes on Tehran and Beirut, issuing evacuation warnings for parts of southern Lebanon. IDF soldiers are now operating in southern Lebanon and are stationed near the border. Elsewhere today, the Chancellor is set to deliver her spring statement, insisting that she will stick to her plan despite surging oil and gas prices in the wake of the Iran conflict. Rachel Reeves is expected to say that the economy is stronger and more secure as a result of decisions taken by the government. And the Commissioner of the Metropolitan Police, Sir Mark Rowley, has said he understands why some women still do not trust the force. His comments come on the 5th anniversary of the murder of Sarah Everard. Those are the headlines for now. More news at the top of the hour.
Tune in to GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB Digital Radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Hello, good morning and welcome. You're watching and listening to Britain's Newsroom. We're live across the United Kingdom on GB News with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates.
Well, the President of the United States has warned the Prime Minister of the UK is pandering to Muslim votes by not backing his war against Iran, saying Britain is not such a recognisable country. Well, devastating criticism, isn't it?
Absolutely. And of course, in addition to that, he said that Keir Starmer delaying giving the US access to the Diego Garcia base in the Chagos Islands was a mistake. So we're asking, are we risking the special relationship? And Andrew, ever since the Second World War, we have always been the junior partner in the special relationship. That is true. And whatever the US wants militarily, we've kind of ended up doing. But this is a new low for Britain's ability to be a partner with the US.
What I think is also deeply disturbing, we have our military base Akatia on Cyprus, 3,500 military personnel there. Drones have dropped on the runway. We don't know if they're from Hezbollah, probably from Lebanon. How was that allowed to happen? And it's humiliating for Britain that the Greek Navy is riding to the rescue of Cyprus. Greek jets are riding to the rescue of Cyprus. And France is sending nuclear-powered drones to protect Cyprus. What about, and where is Britain? Where is the Royal Navy? We don't have a single ship in the Mediterranean. Did we not know this was looming, this conflict? Trump said in January, I'm coming.
Yes, and nobody could have missed the enormous build-up of tens of thousands of US troops and all the other assets. And the question will be, what's the future of RAF Akrotiri in Cyprus? Because the Cypriots will quite rightly say, how dare you make us a target by having a base on our island if you're not going to defend it? And the only defence against these missiles is interceptors that come from destroyers. And we have 1 out of 6 serviceable, and it's nowhere near the Middle East. It's extraordinary.
It's as if they didn't know. Is this a failure of intelligence or a failure of...
Can't be failure of planning, surely. I mean, everybody knew it was about to happen. We didn't know the date that Trump would attack, but it was very clear that the build-up was happening. But it is, I mean, it's almost embarrassing. If you think, I mean, it's a long way back now, but if you think back to Nelson...
We were a major maritime power,
and our Navy was bigger than anybody else's. We destroyed the Spanish fleet. We destroyed the French fleet. Our Navy was our big asset. We never had so much of a ground army, but... Look at our Navy now.
I mean, look, we can't just lay the criticism at the door of this Labour government because the decline has been going on for years and years. Under years of Tory government have allowed this. But what about our relationship with Trump? Can it recover? Let's talk to David Blair, who's Chief Foreign Affairs Commentator at The Telegraph, which has got this brilliant exclusive interview with Trump. Headline in The Telegraph today, I'm very disappointed in Keir, Trump exclusive interview. David, morning. Congratulations on that interview.
Morning.
Is it over, special relationship?
Well, first of all, I should say the interview was done by my colleague Connor Stringer in Washington. So kind of you to give me the credit, but it wasn't actually me. No, I don't think the special relationship is over. amazingly enough, this kind of thing has happened in the past. It's 70 years ago this year that America actually tried to bankrupt Britain in order to stop us from waging war in the Middle East, in that case invading Egypt to take back the Suez Canal. So we've had these kinds of disagreements before, and the special relationship has weathered them. I expect it will do so again. But you're quite right to highlight, it's extraordinary that the Royal Navy doesn't have a single major warship in either the Mediterranean or the Gulf at a time of crisis like this. I don't think that's ever happened before. And that's a reflection of the terrible neglect and rundown of Britain's defences by governments of all parties in the last 20 years.
Now, you mentioned the Suez crisis, but in a way the boot was on the other foot there, because the Americans were putting us under pressure in order to act a certain way. Now the situation is reversed, but we have absolutely no way of putting any pressure on the US because we are just so weak. Do you think they will become to see us as an unreliable partner? Certainly Macron seems to be in favour with Trump over Sir Keir Starmer at the moment.
Yes, although Donald Trump's whims change very quickly.
Yes.
So we still have a lot of capabilities. The question is, do we have the will to use them? And you're quite right to highlight, the drone that attacked RAF Akrotiri the other day was attacking not just a British base, but a British base on what is British sovereign territory in Cyprus. Now, if we don't respond to that kind of thing, then effectively we're inviting more of it, and we make ourselves a more vulnerable target. And at this moment, I understand the Royal Air Force has about 18 fast jets in either Cyprus or elsewhere in the Middle East. We do have the capability to hit back for that kind of thing. The only question is, do we have the will? And at the moment, it seems that we don't.
I read somewhere this morning, David, a defence analyst expert saying he thought it was unfathomable that drones were able to land on the runway at the RAF base. He said it should be impregnable, but there's just no proper defences there.
Yes, and we've got fast jets at RAF Akrotiri whose job is to shoot down incoming drones. But of course, fast jets are not designed for that job. They're designed to shoot down, other fast jets with very advanced, very expensive missiles. Whereas these drones cost only a few tens of thousands of dollars to make. And sending up a multi-million-pound fast jet to fire a very expensive missile is a very uneconomic way of doing it. The way you do it effectively is by destroying them on the ground before they are launched. That's the most effective defense. But that would require carrying out strikes in Iran, and this government clearly doesn't have the will to do that.
Now, Starmer claims that's because of the legal situation surrounding this war. But other left-leaning prime ministers across the world have come out in support of Trump. Mark Carney, Anthony Albanese in Australia. It doesn't seem to necessarily divide along left-right lines. Do you give any credence to this argument that Trump seemed to give to The Sun, that the prime minister was hesitating to support Trump because of Muslim voters or potentially the views about the Middle East within the country?
I don't know about that. I think the Prime Minister is sincere when he talks about international law. It's probably one of the few things he really does believe in. And I can understand his caution about the wider campaign that's being waged. The first rule of successful warfare is have a clear and specific objective. What is the objective that Trump is pursuing in Iran right now? On Sunday, he said two completely different things. He said he wanted regime change, the downfall of the regime, but he also said he wanted to negotiate with the new post-Khamenei leadership. You can't have both. And unless you can define a clear objective, you can't really expect your allies to sign up and fight with you. They need to know what it is you're trying to achieve, and he can't define that.
Someone said to me last night at a reception in Westminster, David, that the new Foreign Secretary of Britain is Zach Polansky, the leader of the Green Party. I thought, what a chilling thought, because he took the view that actually a lot of this has been driven by the by-election result last week, which I'm still told deeply shocked the Prime Minister, who genuinely thought they had a shout at winning it, and yet they came a poor third. And as we know, the entire Muslim bloc vote in that constituency appeared to have switched to the Greens.
Well, heaven help us if Zach Polansky is influencing foreign policy, even indirectly. But I think there's the key point here is that you can believe that Donald Trump's campaign in Iran is not one we can support, while also believing that when we are attacked ourselves, we are entitled to hit back. And of course, that's perfectly legal under international law. Under the international law, you're allowed to defend yourself from an incoming ballistic missile or drone. And we have the forces in place to do that. And I wonder why, when we got 200,000 or more British citizens in Gulf states being attacked at this moment by drones and ballistic missiles, why aren't we doing more to defend them?
You may have seen the Marco Rubio interview yesterday, in which he appeared to imply that the timing of the beginning of this conflict was really in Israel's hands, that they were keen to deal with the Iranian threat, and the US knew that as soon as Israel had attacked Iran, then their own US assets in the region would be under threat. So what do you make of that? Do you think that the US hands were forced by Israel, or do you think it was much more cooperative?
Well, Trump is a man without a plan. Netanyahu is the exact opposite. He knows exactly what he's doing. He has been reshaping the Middle East in Israel's favor ever since the terrorist attacks of October the 7th, 2023. One by one, he's been taking out Iranian allies across the region. Hezbollah, he's hammered the Houthis. He obviously pulverized Hamas. He triggered the downfall of Assad in Syria. And now he's going for the Iranians themselves. And his objective is just to bring them down and deal with the Iranian regime once and for all. He's got a plan and he's following it. Now, you may disagree with it. You may wonder about the human cost of it all, but he knows what he's doing.
All right. Very interesting, David. As ever, David Blair, who is the Chief Foreign Affairs Commentator at the Daily Telegraph, which has got this fascinating interview today with Donald Trump, who says he's very disappointed in the Prime Minister.
It is quite the comparison, isn't it, how Britain doesn't even have a single destroyer in the region, and yet the Israelis have systematically destroyed Iranian proxies one by one over the last 2.5 years, isolating Iran. And now even Iran's Muslim neighbours are attacking back. Phenomenal.
And we shouldn't forget that since 2022 in this country, 22 terror attacks have been involving Iranians in this country, on our soil. And yet still the Prime Minister is insisting on a very defensive strategy. Now, still ahead, does your MP deserve an inflation-busting 5% pay rise? Because they're going to get one this year, next year, right up till 2029.
But up next, the Chancellor has been urged to scrap a planned increase in fuel duty as the price of oil soars due to the Middle East conflict. Are we going to feel the pinch at the petrol pump soon?
First, though, if you've been searching for that elusive holiday sun, here's the forecast.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
Bit of a mixed bag weather-wise, looking across southern Europe at the moment. Yes, there's some wet weather in the west. We had Storm Regina pushing through Portugal, now bringing some rain across parts of Spain, even down towards the Canaries. Further east, a few showers for Italy, but across Greece, it's actually largely dry on Wednesday. Some decent sunshine, and with that, some decent warmth as well, with temperatures rising high teens, possibly low 20s. Still some further rain in Spain to come later this week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
Of course, they're not nuisance. We forget that when Jeremy King opened the Ivy and I opened Silly Fish, the phones didn't exist. So, we've got to move with the times. If you don't want them in, it's very simple. I've just been to 3 pubs around here to connect to the internet to speak to you guys in Victoria, and they don't have internet. They don't have Wi-Fi. So, if you don't want them in, then it's easy to tell them not to come. But there is a downside, because they are quite influential. That's why they're called influencers. And some of them have got millions of followers. You want them in your restaurants. It's free advertising. I totally disagree, actually. I welcome influencers. I've just opened Aldo's Pizza in Bromley inside the Royal Bell Hotel, and we welcome, you know, without influencers, it's instant advertising, and it's, you know, the social media is what we have to embrace. I've got a 19 and a 17-year-old at home. If I said any different, they will probably never speak to me again.
Yeah. But what if it drives your other customers away, regular customers who might come in a lot? Usually these influencers only come in, do a couple of pictures, and they probably never to be seen again.
Well, you know, if that's the case, then you need a security guide to tell them not to come in. But it's, you know, it's far and few between. I don't know what the best thing to do is. I don't particularly mind. A lot of restaurateurs can't stand it.
GB News, the People's Channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun. No, he didn't say that, Dave. I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom. Now, the Chancellor of the Exchequer, Rachel Reeves, will deliver her spring statement today, and we'll be bringing you that live on GB News.
She's under pressure, of course, to cancel the rise in fuel duty announced in the last budget because of the spike in oil prices in the Middle East.
Well, it's due to go up by 1 pence in September, with 2 increases of 2 pence each in the following years. And we're joined now by Andy Mayer, who's the energy analyst at the Institute of Economic Affairs. Andy, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll get onto the crisis in the Middle East in a minute, but there was always a planned fuel duty increase, isn't there? And chancellors always cancel it because it's the sensible thing to do.
Yeah, it's a political choice. We have something called the fuel duty escalator, which is supposed to raise the price of fuel duty on a steady basis every year. And it's been frozen since the early 2010s. And it should be, because ultimately fuel duty acts like a carbon price on petrol and diesel. And that's a perfectly reasonable thing for a government to do. But fuel duty as it stands creates one of the highest carbon prices in the economy. Right. So about 4 to 5 times anything else. So it's out of all whack. And in order for drivers to be treated fairly, fuel duty, if anything, should fall.
Do you think that's going to... Because we were told no rabbits in the hat, coming out of the hat. Perhaps there will be a rabbit coming out of the hat on fuel duty?
I very much doubt it,
right,
because this is an anathema to Ed Miliband.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a matter
He's
of
the net zero
most
fanatic.
religious principle for him, that drivers are punished for driving petrol and diesel cars. If he could, he'd ban them tomorrow.
Yeah. And I think St Labour Mayor Sadiq Khan's of the same mindset, actually.
Well, very much so. And it's very easy, if you're the Mayor of London, to imagine a world where public transport provides most of the commuter services. But around the rest of the country, about 65% of the country commutes to work in a car. And most of those cars are not electric, because electric vehicles are not yet ready to take over. So what London thinks about fuel duty is irrelevant.
Very good point.
There's also the question of whether she can afford it, because the Chancellor has tied herself to the OBR's definition of fiscal rules. The OBR are assuming that fuel duty is going to come up. If it doesn't go up, she's going to have to find the money somewhere else.
Indeed, but in a crisis where fossil fuel prices are rising, it is the definition of sensible government to borrow to alleviate the crisis. So she can make decisions about cutting spending, which obviously people from my point of view would like very much, but she's probably not going to, because it's going to be too difficult. But what she could do immediately is remove some of these policy costs. So she could reduce fuel duty, She could reduce VAT on fuel duty, both removing it from fuel duty as a tax on a tax, but also just cutting it to the same level as on energy bills, which is 5%, not 20%. She could remove the biofuels mandate from the price at the pump, which would take 3 to 10p off the price. And there's a host of other things that could be done as a temporary relief measure to ensure that as people are driving to work, they're not suffering the costs of this remote conflict.
We've only got 30 seconds. How much will the conflict in the Middle East impact the forecourt price?
Simple rule of thumb, every $10 the oil price goes up is about 6p at the pump.
OK.
And how much has it gone up so far?
It's gone about $20 since January.
So that could be 20p?
Wow.
Could be about 12p.
12p?
Yeah.
Andy May, we're going to have to leave it there, but thank you so much for joining us. Plenty more to come on Britain's Newsroom, including how Kemi Badenoch wants to strengthen integration in Britain. You're watching Britain's Newsroom, Britain's favourite morning show on GB News.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, very good morning to you. I'm here from the Met Office with your GB News weather update. Now, it is a bit of a chilly start for some of us, but through today there's going to be a lot of dry, a lot of sunny weather around for most of us. Not all, because there is a weakening front running across parts of eastern England through the Midlands towards the southwest, bringing a bit more cloud here. There will be a few spots of drizzly rain, but towards the north, across much of northern England, a large chunk of Scotland and also Northern Ireland, it's dry and it's sunny with just a few showers across the far north of Scotland. In the north, temperatures just about scraping into double figures, a bit milder than this towards the south. We're looking at highs of around 14 or 15 Celsius, so feeling relatively warm, particularly if you do get any of that sunshine. Like I said, a few showers across the far north of Scotland, particularly for Orkney and Shetland. These continuing as we go through the evening, but across much of Scotland, Northern Ireland, Northern England, we're ending the day on a largely clear note. That does mean, again, similar to last night, temperatures will drop, and so through the night we are going to see a bit of a frost developing in some places. Meanwhile, across central southern England and Wales, more cloud here, but there will be some breaks around, so some clear spells. And again, where you get the clear spells, we could see temperatures dropping, and there could be some mist, some fog, some murkiness in a few places as well. Towards the northwest of the UK, starting to see some outbreaks of rain pushing their way in. They're going to become more prevalent as we go through the day. As I mentioned, in any clearer spells, we are going to see temperatures taking a bit of a drop, so similar to last night, a bit fresh, perhaps a touch of frost in a few spots. Then through tomorrow, there is more cloud around generally, but many places will see some brightness, some sunshine breaking through at times, and towards the northwest, there'll be some outbreaks of rain, more persistent rain starting to edge its way in later on. That's going to push its way through later on this week. Many areas, though, staying dry through the day, and temperatures tomorrow in the southeast higher than today.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Thank you, Britain, for the thousands of you who are becoming friends of GB News every week.
You're not only watching and listening to our programmes, you're becoming part of them too.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. On the A77 southbound at Kilmarnock, a broken down vehicle is causing traffic delays. On the M4 eastbound, expect congestion between junction 27 at High Cross and junction 24 at Coldra, especially during peak hours. In North Yorkshire, the A19 southbound slip road to the A170 has one lane closed due to a broken down vehicle, with normal conditions anticipated around 10:53. In Suffolk, the A12 northbound is experiencing significant congestion between junction 29 and junction 32A. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
A camper van and cash could be yours in our very latest Great British Giveaway. You could be driving away in this brand new Benavan 122. This 2026 model, worth over £67,000, comes with all of the mod cons you'd expect. And that's not all, as you'll also get an incredible £25,000 in tax-free cash to boost your bank account this year. For a chance to win a camper van and cash, text prize to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB20 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of May. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good morning, it's 10 o'clock on Tuesday the 3rd of March. We are live across the United Kingdom. This is Britain's Newsroom with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates.
Is the war in the Middle East destroying our so-called special relationship with the United States?
It's my duty to judge what is in Britain's national interest. That is what I've done, and I stand by it.
Well, Donald Trump said he's very disappointed with the Prime Minister for not allowing him access to Diego Garcia sooner. And today he claims that the government is pandering to Muslim voters by not backing his war against Iran. Well, the Tory leader, Kevin Badenoch, agrees.
Across the UK, there are groups whose political loyalties when it comes to conflicts in the Middle East do not align with British national interest.
And the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, takes a swipe at Britain too.
Capable partners are good partners. Unlike so many of our traditional allies who wring their hands and clutch their pearls, hemming and hawing about the use of force.
Meanwhile, the President of Israel, Isaac Herzog, urged Western leaders to do more in the face of ongoing Iranian aggression. This was him on GB News earlier.
I think it's a moment of truth for leaders in the free world, and Britain is a top leader in the free world. Honestly, we know and we share a lot of interest together for many years, and I think the picture is very clear.
And overnight, the US and Israeli missiles hit key targets in Iran as America warns that a big wave of strikes is coming.
Hardest hits are yet to come from the US military. The next phase will be even more punishing on Iran than it is right now.
Well, don't worry, the UK is not planning on getting involved because of, you guessed it, international law.
We are not joining the strikes, but we will continue our defensive actions in the region.
And Britain's first evacuation flight from the UAE touched down at Heathrow Airport overnight, but thousands of Brits are still stranded in the Gulf this morning.
Back in London this afternoon, the Chancellor will deliver her spring statement. Well, that's as the Iran war escalates.
Stock market is down, oil and gas prices up. How will that affect the forecast in the spring statement? Rachel Reeves unveils it in less than 2 hours' time.
And we've come to her own constituency to see if the Chancellor can avoid the bunkers and tee up a decent statement. No.
Order! He's not a natural, is he? Inflation-busting pay rise. MP's basic salary will increase to £110,000 by the end of Parliament. That's a 5% increase each year. I listened to the statement yesterday and I thought it was a difficult outing for the Prime Minister. He was trying to... He's got two audiences, and he's trying to keep his MPs happy. He's also trying to... We're a major ally of the United States. There's a major conflict, and he's trying to justify his position of restraint and safety first. But I mean, he has U-turned. I mean, did he U-turn because the military base in Cyprus was attacked, or because he thought it was going to be attacked?
And there are so many different interpretations of international law, aren't there? David Blair, the Telegraph's foreign correspondent, was telling us that it's not against international law to retaliate if you're attacked.
Yeah.
But also, some commentators are saying US haven't started this war. This war has been ongoing for decades, in fact, because the Iranians have continually started terrorist attacked Israel. You know, this is a war that's been ongoing for a long time. Is this just an escalation? Is it really a new war?
Well, I mean, they've funded their proxies, whether it's in Syria, Lebanon, the Houthis, Yemen, you name it.
And they've plotted attacks on Western soil, even if they haven't been successful.
Absolutely. As ever, tell us what you think. Send your views, post your comments by visiting
gbnews.com/your say. But first, here's the news with Katie Bowen.
Miriam, Andrew, thank you and good morning. The headlines at 4 minutes past 10. President Donald Trump says he is very disappointed with Sir Keir Starmer's approach to the war in Iran, adding it was sad to see that the relationship between America and Britain is not what it once was. The president's comments to the Sun newspaper come as the US says it is continuing to take decisive action against imminent threats in Iran, with the war in the Middle East entering its fourth day. Overnight, US Secretary of State Marco Rubio said the hardest hits on Iran are yet to come, adding he would not give away details of our tactical efforts. This morning, the Israeli military began launching new strikes on Tehran and Beirut, issuing evacuation warnings for parts of southern Lebanon. IDF soldiers are now operating in southern Lebanon and are stationed near the border. In a post on Truth Social this morning, President Trump said that the United States military has enough weapons stocked for a forever war and that his country is ready to win big. 2 drones attacked the US embassy in Riyadh, resulting in a limited fire. And today, the US announced that their embassy in Kuwait was closed until further notice. Iran has threatened to fire on any ships in the Strait of Hormuz, creating a major threat to global energy supplies. Israeli President Isaac Herzog spoke to GB News Breakfast about Britain's role in the conflict.
This empire of evil will not rest until you cut its wings and make sure that there's a different vision for the region with a different reality in Tehran, without their ballistic missiles and potential nuclear program and without their proxies all over the region. It's a moment of truth for leaders in the free world, and Britain is a top leader in the free world. Honestly, we know and we share a lot of interest together for many years, and I think the picture is very clear.
Well, the first evacuation flight back to Britain from Abu Dhabi landed at Heathrow Airport last night. That's as Air France cancels all flights to and from the Middle East until Thursday. More than 100,000 Britons have registered for help in the Middle East, with more than 300,000 in the region overall. Yesterday, Sir Keir Starmer said the government was working on plans to get people home safely. Foreign Office sources said no evacuation was imminent, but the government was preparing for potential scenarios if commercial flights remain grounded. Elsewhere, the Chancellor is set to deliver her spring statement today, insisting that she will stick to her plan despite surging oil and gas prices in the wake of the Iran conflict. Rachel Reeves is expected to say that the economy is stronger and more secure as a result of decisions taken by the government, highlighting falling inflation and interest rate cuts as successes which have resulted in easing cost of living pressures. But the statement comes just weeks after the Bank of England downgraded its growth rating for the UK economy, and now in the wake of the escalating conflict in the Middle East. The Chancellor's statement will come in response to the Office for Budget Responsibility's latest economic forecast. And the Commissioner of the Metropolitan Police has said he understands why some women still do not trust the force. His comments come on the 5th anniversary of the murder of Sarah Everard. Sir Mark Rowley said several ghastly cases of police officers committing awful offences against women were bound to affect people's trust in the UK's biggest police force. The Commissioner said 1,500 people have been, quote, rooted out since 2022 and were no longer working for the force, many because of inappropriate behaviour towards women. 5 years ago this evening, Miss Everard was walking home in South London when she was abducted by Wayne Cousins, who was then a serving police officer. He drove her to Kent, where he raped and killed her. Cousins was later sentenced to a whole life term for her murder. A vigil will be held in honour of Sarah Everard on Clapham Common this evening. Those are your latest GB News headlines. More from me in half an hour.
Hello, good morning and welcome. You're watching and listening to Britain's Newsroom. We're live across the United Kingdom on GB News with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates.
Got some emails and texts, I think.
We have. I think I've accidentally gone on the wrong thing because I'm currently looking at a picture of football boots. That's not the right one. Here we go.
Football boots? Do you need some new football boots?
A friend is selling her son's football boots and it popped up on my feed. Anyway, we don't need to get into that.
Fine.
I won't be buying the boots if anybody's interested. EC on gbnews.com/Your Say says Trump is calling out Starmer's weakness. Hopefully Starmer will take this as a warning from someone who's trying to help him get out of the situation he's put himself in.
I think the real criticism should be, as we said earlier, Miriam, the absolute absence of any military presence in the Mediterranean or Gulf. Not a single British ship is there. There are 16 American ships, including the biggest one ever built, the Gerald Ford, which is an aircraft carrier. We haven't got a single ship there, and the Greek Navy, of all people, are riding to the rescue of Cyprus. Isn't that terrible?
It is, and is that perhaps the real reason we're not involved is because we can't be. We no longer have the capability, and the only way of protecting a base like RAF Akrotiri is from the sea.
Yeah.
And if we, but it does, you know, we do only have one destroyer capable. That is true. But why isn't it in the region? That's the big question.
Absolutely.
All other countries have known that these attacks are coming, not known when, of course.
And France is intervening as well, in its sending nuclear-powered drones to protect Cyprus. We can't protect Cyprus. There's going to be a hell of a row about the British military base on that island soon, because the base is the reason Cyprus has been attacked by drones, and we can't appear to defend it.
That's right. And our defence spending goes down and down and down, and about half of our defence spending is on our nuclear deterrent anyway, which of course is necessary, but that's not the same as spending on troops, ships, ammunition that we would need in a conflict like this.
I know. You just know if the Argentines invaded the Falklands, we'd never get them back. Not like 1982.
No, we'd probably praise them for carrying out international law.
Yeah. Now, to recap, the US President has warned the Prime Minister the UK is pandering to Muslim voters by not backing his war against Iran. He says Britain is not such a recognisable country anymore.
Well, let's get the latest from the US political analyst, Nora-Lee Knotson. Nora-Lee, good morning. Thank you, as always, for joining us. The US President has had some strong words for Sir Keir Starmer last night and yesterday. Do you think this is the end of the special relationship?
No, it's not the end of the special relationship. I think the special relationship will always endure. It's gone through hiccups before, and it will come out of that. I think there's a big debate going on about, the reaction here in the UK, but there's even a bigger debate going on in the US. As we all know, Trump ran on the platform of no new wars, no forever wars. The base that voted for him on that basis. The imminent threat that was used as the reason for the war is being criticized. If we heard Marco Rubio yesterday, he said the imminent threat was actually that Israel would strike, and on the basis of that Iran would then strike the US. So people are questioning, why would Israel want to then put American lives at risk? So there's a lot of disapproval right now in the US for what's going on. If you look at latest polls, 6 out of 10 disapprove of the action that's been taken by President Trump. About 50% of people think this will end up in a forever war. Even Trump used those words yesterday. They talked about potentially having troops on the ground. This is not what Americans voted for. So it's a very difficult time for the US right now.
And it's not what we thought Trump was about either, Nora Lee. He made much in his campaign to be re-elected about he never started a war on his watch, and he was very boastful about the number of wars he claims he's resolved.
Exactly, and people are looking for the evidence for the imminent threat. There's been talk about Iran would be able to create a missile that could reach the U.S., but if you read what experts have said, they said that wouldn't exist until 3 to 10 years. So that doesn't appear to be an imminent threat. In regards to nuclear capabilities, we took action in the summer, which annihilated those nuclear capabilities. And that's also been used. There's been changing reasons for why we went to war, but the most telling was yesterday when Marco Rubio said it was because the imminent threat caused by Israel attacking first, and that's caused a lot of controversy in the U.S.
If Netanyahu did indeed force Trump's hand, some commentators are saying that Netanyahu probably thinks this is the last time Israel will be able to rely on the US for support because of how the US public is turning against Israel. And I forget the actual polling figures, but over the last year, the number of people supporting Israel over Gaza, for example, has flipped in the opposite direction. Do you think that actually support for Israel in the US is draining away now?
I think what you're seeing from the younger base, in particular in the U.S., is there is more focus on, valuing human life, looking at how we conduct wars, the moral basis for a war. And yes, it's correct. The younger generation has less sympathy for Benjamin Netanyahu and his basis for conducting his war. So yes, there is a flip. And we know there's an election this year in Israel. So in his eyes, Benjamin Netanyahu, this is an opportunity for him to try to go into that election with strength if he is successful against Iran, but it's weakening Trump amongst his base back home in the U.S.
And I think just briefly, Nora, there are a couple of midterm primaries imminent in America.
There are, and people are not hopeful right now for those midterms. Things already looked difficult as it was with the cost of living crisis, with some of the issues we've had with ICE in the U.S., and this is going to make it even more difficult.
All right, that's Nora Lee Knotson, the American political commentator. Thanks so much for joining us, Nora Lee.
Lots of people saying that J.D. Vance has been very quiet since the start of this conflict. Of course, he argued very strongly not to get involved in these kind of wars. It looks like Marco Rubio, much more proactive, has won the debate.
He's the hawk,
for now.
And J.D. Vance is the dove. And I still think Rubio's looking more and more and more and more like a potential presidential candidate.
Indeed, he's very impressive. But if the Americans do not want this war, then actually perhaps this will work out more in J.D. Vance's favour.
Yeah.
A long way to go.
Now, 2 drones hit the British RAF base Akrotiri in Cyprus overnight on Sunday with no casualties and minimum damage.
Well, Will Hollis is the Cyprus reporter at BFBS Forces News. He's there in Cyprus to tell us about that British base. Will, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. It must have been quite a frightening experience for you and all the others on the base to come under direct attack.
Yes, well, it's certainly startling. I was asleep when the single drone attack happened, and the air raid siren had been running for a short while, and then we heard a small single explosion in the distance, and at this point we weren't quite sure exactly what had happened, but then the Ministry of Defence later confirmed that they did suspect that it was a one-way attack drone, the kind of thing that is similar to what you'd see in the war in Ukraine.
And nobody hurt, Will, only superficial damage. People are saying here, defence experts, they thought it was inconceivable that a drone would be able to get so close to an RAF base.
Yes, no casualties. So that's something that I know that the base is really happy to stress that nobody was hurt in this instance. In the last few weeks, defensive capabilities around RAF Akrotiri had been increased, and that were things like ground-based air defences, and including additional jets that were brought into RAF Akrotiri, 6 F-35s, which are the most modern stealth fighter jets in the world. So there are a lot of capabilities at RAF Akrotiri.
And tell us about the base. Well, what is the purpose of it? Why is it there? I mean, I know it's been there since independence, Cyprus independence in 1960, but what is its role?
Yes, so it's a 70-year-old British airbase. It's the busiest and the biggest overseas airbase, bigger than Falklands or any of the other British air bases around the world. And primarily what it's used for is because of its important strategic location. It sits at the junction of the continents. So there's the Middle East to the east, Africa to the south, and Europe to the north and to the west. So it's in a really important place for regional stability and for Britain to project its power and influence in the region. And what it's primarily used for is a forward operating base for, in the past, large operations, Afghanistan and Iraq. And right now, it's primarily used for Operation Shader, which is the British contribution to the fight against the remaining pockets of the Islamic State, the so-called Islamic State.
Will Hollis, former East Midlands reporter
some of you
for
watching
GBNews.
and listening were familiar. And are you enjoying that job out there, Will?
It's great. Cyprus is obviously a holiday destination for British people. It's sunny 300 days of the year, and it's a really exciting place to work as a defence correspondent with such incredible access to the British military.
Sunny 300 days a year. Are there any vacancies, Will?
We can get your CV to the right person.
I'll send it to you, Will. It's not what you know, it's who you know. Thanks for joining us. That's Will Hollis.
Thank you.
Great to talk to you.
Live from Cyprus. Well, coming up next, we'll be revealing which political party has taken over Labour in a new YouGov poll.
We'll be going through that more with the Zach Palansky lover, Nigel Nelson. Well, I don't know if he does love him. And Piers Pottinger, who certainly does not love Zach Palansky. This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world. Am I allowed to talk then? No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
What could you spend this quadrillion quid on, Sophie? What were the limitations, let's put it lightly?
The entire world, couldn't I, essentially?
Yeah. But on this gift receipt, what are you allowed to spend this amount on?
Well, I've only spent up to the balance. I've only spent up to the balance of £10. Because that's what was meant to be on it. And I think I wasn't going to spend any more. Obviously they know about it now, so.
Yeah, Sophie, you were at a local coffee shop, and what were you trying to buy with your gift card originally?
It was a matcha latte.
Matcha latte, right. And then all of a sudden someone said, oh, I think you're a quadrillionaire. Was that how it played out, Sophie?
To be honest, they didn't, the person that served me didn't notice. He said that he'd not done gift cards before, so wasn't sure. And then he got his colleague to come over. She just looked at it and went, oh, I've never seen that before. Cashed it off, gave me the receipt, and then it wasn't until while I was waiting for my drink, I was looking at the receipt myself. And then I clicked on and I was like, surely not.
Wow, I'm just looking at the strap below us now. I believe that's 15 zeros after 6-3, so that's a lot of money, Sophie. Do you think they're going to honour it and let you have unlimited coffees and muffins for life?
Well, I was on BBC Radio Nottingham on Monday morning, and they've not actually been in contact with me at all, 200 Degrees or Cafe Nero, because they've bought them out now. I've heard nothing from them, and then they've released a statement saying that it's been rectified. And they've also said in the statement that they gave me a receipt with the correct balance on.
GB News, the People's Channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's tonight, Late Edition.
Alex Armstrong tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
(10:23) Britain's Newsroom with Andrew and Miriam. We've got our panel here, Nigel Nelson and Piers Pottinger. And if people look to the right of their screen, they're going to see a rather interesting photograph, I think. Is it there? No, it's not.
I think we're doing that at the end.
Oh, we're doing it at the end.
But
Sorry.
we've whet everybody's appetite
Yes,
now.
we've got a little treat for you
What on
coming up.
earth are we going to show?
Nigel, your mate, Trump's really gone for him. Telegraph into the Sun as well.
The Sun especially. I mean,
Yeah.
I think that the idea that this was that Keir Starmer did what he did for Muslim votes is just absolute nonsense. And this is tosh coming out of Trump.
Well, I think Kemi
He was
Badenoch
led
rather...
into that answer.
Kemi Badenoch rather agreed with it.
Well, she may do, but I still think it's tosh. I mean,
She thinks foreign policy is now being dictated by the Green Party after their stunning election triumph
I mean,
last week.
I think all this is absolute nonsense. If you follow through what Keir Starmer did, it kind of makes sense, provided you actually don't think we should be at war. So his original decision initially was to protect our 300,000 people who are in the region.
Well, how do you do that by doing nothing?
Well, I mean, you make them more of a target by doing something.
Right.
So that was the reason for that, and obviously our British bases. Then when Sunday came along and we were being attacked anyway, he was then in a position to say, right, we must now take defensive action, and at that point they could actually allow America to use our bases. All of which, if you follow just the logic of it, just made sense.
No, it doesn't. I mean, this shows Starmer as a hopeless leader. He's not a leader. He couldn't lead my dog. I mean, he's appalling, let alone this country. The number one priority for the leader of this country is the defence of the realm.
Absolutely.
Starmer
That's it.
has failed.
But that's the
Waiting
point.
to be attacked and then do something is incredibly stupid.
But
It's moronic.
Protecting British people is the important
Well,
thing.
he's not doing it. And when we get the spring statement very shortly today, there should be in it a massive increase in defence spending, and there won't be any because they haven't got the money,
Well, they won't,
and
but
they
the
are
spring statement isn't about
refusing.
that, so
We're
it's not about
still
spending.
waiting for the defence investment plan that should have been published in September last year. The whole military is frozen because they haven't got the money to do anything. Of course, we should have ships there. We haven't got enough ships to put
And that's a
in the
very good
Gulf.
point. Not a single ship, British ship, in the Gulf or in the Mediterranean. Astonishing. It's not as if, Nigel, this raid, this war, is a surprise.
No, they're absolutely right. I think most of our ships are actually in the north at the moment.
They're in the wrong place.
Well, I mean, as it's turned out, you're absolutely right.
But why didn't they know that?
Well, I don't know why they didn't know it. I do think that you're right to actually question it on the basis that we may need to evacuate. And if we need to evacuate, we're going to need Royal Navy ships there to actually help that evacuation. So at the moment, what we haven't heard from the government is what kind of evacuation plan we've got in the event that we need to do it.
Well, Starmer has shown himself. The one thing he has made very clear to the British people is he's no leader of any kind at all. We all know he's spineless.
But why lead us into war?
Why has he not prescribed immediately the Iranian Republican Guard as a terrorist group, which they are and have been for a long time?
The reason
and
for
it is
that-
no defence to say that it's because of an embassy in
Well, it
Tehran.
is. I mean,
That is not a defence.
The reason for that is, I think it will be prescribed probably very shortly. The reason we didn't do it is because we have an embassy in Tehran and the Americans don't. So one is to protect our people who were there. The second reason is that we were the only ones who had any kind of dialogue going with the existing Iranian regime. That was useful to the Americans because they couldn't have the same dialogue that we could have. Now we've pulled the embassy out. The chance of it going back are pretty unlikely. And as a result of that, the
Do you not
IRGC will
think,
probably
Nigel,
be...
that you are slightly clutching at straws? I mean, when you're dealing with ordinary governments, then certainly diplomacy is important. But everybody knows the Ayatollah was not willing to talk. I mean, you know, the Israelis have systematically destroyed all the Iranian proxies over the last 2.5 years. They've worked out that's actually the only way to get any sort of change in Iran. I mean, this is not about diplomacy at the end of the day. And you can argue that Starmer's right that Britain shouldn't get involved in an attack, but the fact that we are undefended surely is inexcusable.
And the nauseating way they use international law as the excuse for everything. A good example is the
Why
court.
is the rule of law a bad thing?
The International Court of Justice.
It means you're not allowed to defend yourself against the Ayatollah.
There's no international law that prevents you from defending sovereign soil.
First of all, can I just make some of these international courts are absolutely pointless. The International Court of Justice, which is the one that declared we had to supposedly give back the Chagos, that has no powers to take action despite whatever it says. So it's a completely worthless body in the first place. Secondly, the judge who actually did this was a leading member of the Chinese Communist Party. And so we are following Chinese wishes unnecessarily under the banner of international law. And international law is, of course, what made Starmer and his sidekick, Lord Hermer, rich by defending enemies of Britain throughout their careers. These people should stop using international law as this pathetic excuse for non-leadership of our country.
International law is no different from domestic law in principle. Do you disagree with that? If you were mugged in the street because somebody came up to you and said, actually, you've got more money than I have and I want it, and then the law didn't apply to them, would you not object to that?
Well, let me make the point that...
Why is it not like that?
Well, first of all, it's not like that because none of us have any kind of democratic loyalty to an international body. We have democratic loyalty to our nation state because we choose our leaders, we vote for our leaders, so therefore we choose who makes the law and we obey it. None of us has any impact on what international law is, so we have no loyalty to it.
We choose the people who make the treaties, who make the international law.
Yeah, but the Prime Minister of this country and the Cabinet are lawmakers. That's their primary role. They are the lawmakers.
Yeah, but...
It depends whether you think the highest level of human duty is to your nation or whether you have some sort of global duty, and I don't believe that we do, but that's a philosophical...
Certainly not being told by a Chinese communist.
Why should they become contradictory? I mean,
because the nation is the greatest organising principle that humans have found.
Well, in which case, then, what Keir Starmer was doing was in the national interest, because we've seen what happened in Iraq. We saw 457 British troops get killed in Afghanistan. Afghanistan is now back in control of the Taliban, and we had to make a panicky and a humiliating evacuation, which shows that didn't work.
Is there not a national interest in protecting sovereign soil? We have an RAF base in Cyprus, which we were incapable of defending.
I agree with you.
And we were incapable of defending because we've been guided by international law, which said we cannot take an offensive position, and now he says it's a defensive position to take out Israeli missile installations, Iranian missile installations.
Two things here that certainly we should protect Cyprus, and certainly we should protect our allies, which is what's going on at the moment. Joining the Americans...
Well, no, it isn't. The Greeks are protecting Cyprus for us because we can't.
And we should have ships there. We obviously haven't got enough ships. I appreciate all that. The point we're talking about is whether or not it was the right thing to do to join the offensive operation that America and Israel launched against...
But under your way of thinking, Nigel, in World War II, we would have let the Germans invade us and then try and do something about it. This is nonsense.
Well, no, we wouldn't. We had a treaty with Poland. That's why
Starmer has completely failed this country, not for the first time.
It's 2 weeks ago, though, before this offensive was started. Were you not one of those who thought that the invasion of Iraq was a mistake? I mean, I certainly was. I still do. And I think there's a difference between Starmer saying we're not going to join the offensive, but coming to the aid of our allies once the war has started.
Of course. And with the special relationship that we used to have, and is clearly gone now after what Trump has said, what we used to have, we should have stood up and supported our ally shoulder to shoulder. firmly and clearly on day one, and Starmer should have done that. By not doing so, he has failed this country and the world.
Do you mean
he craves being... Starmer he desperately wants to be seen as an international statesman. He now looks like an international
But are you
buffoon.
saying we should have actually joined the attack, that we should actually have sent our planes
No, we
in?
should have stood up and supported him, at least verbally, wait for it. We weren't asked to do much except let the Americans use our base,
in other words,
which we should have agreed to.
You go ahead, President Trump, we'll hold your coat. That would be the kind of support we give.
Well, we should have said right from the word go, you can use our military bases, which we've now said we can. We've now said he can. But he shouldn't have done that right from the beginning.
But then back to the original problem, we would then have been involved, we'd have then put our people more at risk. So that
they've been attacked anyway.
Well, I know that.
Then what about Bahrain? We have a military base at Bahrain. That's been attacked as well.
I think we agree more than we're making out.
Now, before we go, we've got news. There's a big happy birthday to Piers Pottinger. So we'd like to tell us about that rather charming chap in the picture behind you, Piers.
Ah, yes. Well, that was me, age 5, at my mother's piano in Edinburgh. And I was trying to play Side Saddle, which was a big hit by Russ Conway, who was a famous pianist of the age.
It's a charming. And how did you get on? Can you play the piano, Piers?
Not very well.
Right.
And I still can't play Side Saddle.
Oh.
Very sweet, Rich. Well, happy birthday.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
Thank you. As well.
The boys will be back, but first we're going to get our 60-second news update with Katie Bone.
Good morning. The headlines at 10:34. President Donald Trump says he is very disappointed with Sir Keir Starmer's approach to the war in Iran, adding it was sad to see that the relationship between America and Britain is not what it once was. Well, overnight, US Secretary of State Marco Rubio said the hardest hits on Iran are yet to come. This morning, the Israeli military began launching new strikes on Tehran and Beirut, issuing evacuation warnings for parts of southern Lebanon. IDF soldiers are now operating in southern Lebanon and are stationed near the border. Elsewhere, the Chancellor is set to deliver her spring statement today, insisting that she will stick to her plan despite surging oil and gas prices in the wake of the Iran conflict. Rachel Reeves is expected to say that the economy is stronger and more secure as a result of decisions taken by the government. And the Commissioner of the Metropolitan Police, Sir Mark Rowley, has said he understands why some women still do not trust the force. His comments come on the 5th anniversary of the murder of Sarah Everard. Those are the headlines for now. More news at the top of the hour.
Take the GB News family with you on any device. As long as you have an internet connection, tune into GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond.
Up next, the Chancellor is going to deliver a spring statement this afternoon. Will she pull a rabbit out of her hat?
Well, we'll see. But birthday boy Piers Pottinger, in one word, will she?
No.
We thought you might say that. This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Hello, very good morning to you. I'm here from the Met Office with your GB News weather update. Now, it is a bit of a chilly start for some of us, but through today there's going to be a lot of dry, a lot of sunny weather around for most of us. Not all, because there is a weakening front running across parts of eastern England through the Midlands towards the southwest, bringing a bit more cloud here. There will be a few spots of drizzly rain, but towards the north, across much of northern England, a large chunk of Scotland and also Northern Ireland, it's dry and it's sunny with just a few showers across the far north of Scotland. In the north, temperatures just about scraping into double figures, a bit milder than this towards the south. We're looking at highs of around 14 or 15 Celsius, so feeling relatively warm, particularly if you do get any of that sunshine. Like I said, a few showers across the far north of Scotland, particularly for Orkney and Shetland. These continuing as we go through the evening, but across much of Scotland, Northern Ireland, Northern England, we're ending the day on a largely clear note. That does mean, again, similar to last night, temperatures will drop, and so through the night we are going to see a bit of a frost developing in some places. Meanwhile, across central southern England and Wales, more cloud here, but there will be some breaks around, so some clear spells. And again, where you get the clear spells, we could see temperatures dropping, and there could be some mist, some fog, some murkiness in a few places as well. Towards the northwest of the UK, starting to see some outbreaks of rain pushing their way in. They're going to become more prevalent as we go through the day. As I mentioned, in any clearer spells, we are going to see temperatures taking a bit of a drop, so similar to last night, a bit fresh, perhaps a touch of frost in a few spots. Then through tomorrow, there is more cloud around generally, but many places will see some brightness, some sunshine breaking through at times. And towards the northwest, there will be some outbreaks of rain, more persistent rain starting to edge its way in later on. That's going to push its way through later on this week. Many areas, though, staying dry through the day, and temperatures tomorrow in the southeast higher than today.
Thank you, Britain, for all of you who listen to GB News Radio.
Whether you're at home or on the go, you're making us Britain's news channel and Britain's radio station.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. On the A77 southbound at Kilmarnock, traffic is restricted due to a broken down vehicle blocking a portion of the road. In North Yorkshire, the A19 southbound slip to the A170 has one lane closed following another breakdown, with conditions expected to improve between 11:30 and 11:45 this morning. Meanwhile, in Suffolk, the A12 northbound between junction 31 and junction 32A is down to one lane after a vehicle fire, with delays of around 30 minutes easing between 12:45 and 1 this afternoon. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom. It's 22:11 and you're watching on GB News with Miriam and Andrew.
So the Chancellor today is set to double down on her budget as the right economic plan, as she will set out her spring statement for the economy a little later on today.
Well, let's speak to our GB News political editor, Christopher Hope, who joins us now. Chris, good morning. Thank you for joining us. We've just seen the news that Britain's borrowing costs have spiked. That's going to make things even more difficult for the Chancellor. What do you expect her to say this afternoon?
Yeah, so the ground is shifting even as Rachel Reeves prepares to give her spring statement because of those markets. They're now down 1%, the FTSE 100 down 2% on opening, spiking oil and gas prices because of concerns about the Strait of Hormuz and whether any actual gas or oil tankers can get out of there, LNG gas I should say. So big concerns here. So as we go into this forecasting statement here from the Chancellor, what will it be ripped up in a few days' time as the effect of the war impacts? We've heard from Rachel Reeves in the past few moments. She says this on social media: my economic plan is the right one for Britain, she says. Today we'll set out how we are cutting the cost of living, cutting borrowing and growing the economy. Well, all of that may change pretty quickly if the effect of the Iranian war has a negative impact on oil and gas prices and impact on UK economy. We're expecting no major announcements from the Chancellor, no rabbits out of the hat, to use the Westminster parlance. We may get some indication of how they'll pay for those U-turns on business rates, on inheritance tax, and having those local elections reinstated for May. They were cancelled. That costs around £270 million of extra spending that we haven't yet accounted for in any kind of the budget. We've got the camera focused on the door of number 10 Downing Street behind me because the Cabinet have been meeting. It was meant to be a political Cabinet meeting, probably to discuss the impact of the Gorton-Denton by-election. That's all gone completely. This is now a proper, full-on Cabinet. Of course, the government is working out how to respond to the war, how to respond to UK nationals being there. We're just looking at some people leaving now. Steve Reid, are you worried about a special relationship? That's Steve Reid. Says, hello, Chopper, how are you doing? He's a housing secretary. Are you concerned about Donald Trump? Have you ruined the special relationship? Here we have Pat McFadden, the Welfare Secretary. Pat McFadden, are you worried about a special relationship? What do you say to Donald Trump? He's fallen out with Keir Starmer. That's Pat McFadden emerging. Wes Streeting. Wes Streeting, are you worried about the special relationship? No answer there from Wes Streeting. He, of course, is the Health Secretary.
Which is pretty unusual.
Coming out one by one now in a kind of choreographed exit. And there we have it. So for now, that's the last to come. But it may keep emerging while you're speaking to me. So that's been an hour-long cabinet. We'll find out what was said there. It does overshadow, frankly, this spring statement. Normally, this is a big moment in our life in Westminster. Definitely overshadowed by what's going on, of course, in the war.
And Chris, just briefly, has she had to rewrite much of that speech, do you think, in the light of what's happening in Iran?
Well, I think almost certainly she has to reflect what's going on in Iran to make clear we don't really know how the land will lie even in a few weeks' time. Lord Hermer, are you happy with the special relationship? Has your legal advice held back Sir Keir Starmer, Lord Hermer?
Is this the end of the special relationship?
Lord Hermer, of course, is the Attorney General. To my right here. Foreign Secretary, are you worried about a special relationship? Yvette Cooper. Yvette Cooper, they're leaving.
Trying to avoid
Yvette, are you concerned about the special relationship?
Because she has
what do you say to Donald Trump? That's Yvette Cooper, the Foreign Secretary, leaving too. I was shouting particularly at Lord Hermer there, of course, Miriam and Andrew, because his legal advice, which many think is guided how the Prime Minister has reacted to the developing war in the Middle East. Now, Lord Hermer was standing directly above the Conservative benches yesterday in the House of Commons in Keir Starmer's eye line, almost so Keir Starmer could look up and see Lord Hermer there. His, of course, his former friend in the barristers in the House of... Shabana Mahmood, are you worried about the special relationship? Shabana Mahmood, are you concerned about Donald Trump's view of Keir Starmer? Is that a worry for us all?
How can you win back the trust of the US?
Somebody else is shouting as well.
Then we have Shabana Mahmood leaving.
One day, Chopper, one day they'll answer you.
Rachel Reeves. Yeah, I'm not being rude by doing this. I mean, I simply got to try and respond to GBNews viewers the questions. It might look a bit rude to viewers, but we have to
I think
ask them questions because often they won't talk to us.
Generally shouting at people when they walk down the street is seen as rude.
It's part of political folklore. That's what happens. Cabinet ministers get questions thrown at them. I remember when John Major was Prime Minister, he used to say, "Who is that dreadful woman who keeps shouting, 'Are you going to resign, Prime Minister?'" She was called Joy, and she went on to work for Ken Livingstone, of all people. And he said, he never ever responded.
There was a guy called Paul Lambert. He was known as Gobby for simply shouting, "Are you going to resign?" at random people leaving number 10 Downing Street. But that's the nature. That's our job in the journalism.
We love it. Chris,
so a huge day. If I can say before I go very shortly, the camera will go that way, and there's Steve pointing at the door of number 11 Downing Street. So we're expecting to see the Chancellor of the Exchequer, Rachel Reeves, emerge there about 10 to 12. She won't be holding up the famous battered Gladstone red box with the budget in. It's not a budget day, but she'll be put into a car and whisked across to Parliament. Of course, that statement starting at 12:30 p.m. live on GB News.
And last time, I think you asked her, shouted at her, is she going to be the Christmas Grinch? Have you got your line ready today? Where's the Easter Bunny, perhaps?
I may be Easter Bunny, yeah. It's a Lenten misery for us all, Chancellor. We'll wait and see.
Well, good luck, Chris. I hope they answer you.
Absolutely. Where would we be without Chris Hope? Now, up next, Welsh homes for Welsh-speaking people only. Find out why that soon could be a reality.
But first, if you're a search of some holiday sun, probably don't go to Wales, but here's the forecast for some of our top European destinations.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Bit of a mixed bag weather-wise, looking across southern Europe at the moment. Yes, there's some wet weather in the west. We had Storm Regina pushing through Portugal, now bringing some rain across parts of Spain, even down towards the Canaries. Further east, a few showers for Italy, but across Greece, it's actually largely dry on Wednesday. Some decent sunshine, and with that, some decent warmth as well, with temperatures rising high teens, possibly low 20s. Still some further rain in Spain to come later this week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Bold. They are under no illusion. Ray, are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline.
Should we be worried about it? From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos. What we're going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak. Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that, because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
Needs to stop. You think we can allow?
Politics, policy, parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. 10 to 11, you're watching Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Now, a council in North Wales has sparked controversy by saying it will only back plans for a new housing development if the homes are reserved for people who speak Welsh.
Well, I was going to announce the name of the community council, but I can't actually pronounce it. Trefor and Llanachern, please don't write in, community council, has been asked to approve a bid to build 15 affordable homes in the village of Trefor in Gwynedd.
Now, the Conservative Party in Wales are understandably very unhappy about it. Andrew R.T. Davies is the Welsh Conservative member of the Senedd. Mr. Davies, good morning to you.
Good morning.
It occurs to us, could this not be a breach of the law to say you can only have this house if you speak Welsh?
Yes, it is a breach of the law, and thankfully the planning committee were told this last night by planning officers, and Gwynedd Council did approve the development without the clause. But I think more deeper on this is that worrying thought that a community council would think such a measure would be applicable to a housing development, because it goes to the very heart of integrated communities. And Kemi Badenoch's been talking about this yesterday, about separatism and all the other agenda that obviously the nationalists are trying to promote here in Wales.
There is a little difference, though, isn't there, to Kemi Badenoch's argument, because, of course, Welsh is a native language to these isles, and certainly over the last few decades there has been intense effort to try and revive Welsh speaking.
I'm a big supporter of the Welsh language. I don't speak it myself, but I think it's important that Wales is a bilingual country. And that's the important thing. And if this regulation had gone through on this planning consent, then it wouldn't be a bilingual. You'd have to only be able to speak one of the languages to be able to live in that particular house. And that's the balkanisation of communities here in Wales. And the real danger is that with Plaid Cymru polling as they are at the moment, we could see more of this doctrine coming forward and more separatist agenda being put on the table of the legislative programme here in the Welsh Parliament.
Well, that was my thought when I read about this. I thought, well, there's some people predicting that Plaid could even take control of the Welsh Assembly in May, and if this was given the go-ahead, then that could be a blueprint for the rest of Wales.
Well, that's the thing. That's what's surprising about all that's gone on. Well, maybe not surprising is the word I should use, that all the controversy around this particular Community Council's proposal, when you look at some of the powers that be, as the Welsh Language Commissioner and other people, they actually say that the President is against the law, but they're not actually saying that the policy proposal is wrong in the first instance. And so if Plaid Cymru were to take over, you could imagine them changing the law to allow this balkanisation of communities here in Wales to creep in, and we all know what difficulties that creates. We are supporters of the Welsh language. We want to see the Welsh language promoted, and we want to see a truly bilingual Wales. But what we don't want to see is segregation of communities based on language and other factors, because that will really disjoint and break up communities and not create the cohesion that we want to see here in Wales.
Yeah, and it's just straightforward discrimination against English-speaking people in Wales.
Well, it is, and the bigger problem here is that we haven't got enough houses in the first place here in Wales, so there is pressure on housing, as in other parts of the country, and we need to be building more houses to make sure that people have got homes, places to call home. And equally, what we've got to remember is Plaid Cymru have been propping up Labour here in Wales after 27 years of failure. So this policy proposal that was put forward by the Community Council to see if it could run any length within the Planning Committee, thankfully got knocked down last night in the Planning Committee. But if the law was changed under a Welsh nationalist government here, then obviously that would come the norm.
Mr Davis, I'm so sorry, we are going to have to leave it there. We're out of time, but thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Well, thank God that committee saw sense.
Absolutely, and the Community Council did say it's a golden opportunity to be truly progressive and innovative by being the first planning authority in Wales to venture to impose a language condition on a new social housing estate. However, it does sound like they have U-turned.
And they're unrepentant about it.
Progressive.
Staggering. Still ahead is our special relationship over with Donald Trump. He's accused Starmer of pandering to Muslims for not backing more vigorously the war against Iran. This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, very good morning to you. I'm here from the Met Office with your GB News weather update. Now, it is a bit of a chilly start for some of us, but through today there's going to be a lot of dry, a lot of sunny weather around for most of us. Not all, because there is a weakening front running across parts of eastern England through the Midlands towards the southwest, bringing a bit more cloud here. There will be a few spots of drizzly rain, but towards the north, across much of northern England, a large chunk of Scotland and also Northern Ireland, it's dry and it's sunny with just a few showers across the far north of Scotland. In the north, temperatures just about scraping into double figures, a bit milder than this towards the south. We're looking at highs of around 14 or 15 Celsius, so feeling relatively warm, particularly if you do get any of that sunshine. Like I said, a few showers across the far north of Scotland, particularly Orkney and Shetland, these continuing as we go through the evening, but across much of Scotland, Northern Ireland, Northern England, we're ending the day on a largely clear note. That does mean, again, similar to last night, temperatures will drop, and so through the night we are going to see a bit of a frost developing in some places. Meanwhile, across central southern England and Wales, more cloud here, but there will be some breaks around, so some clear spells, and again, where you get the clear spells, we could see temperatures dropping, and there could be some mist, some fog, some murkiness in a few places as well. Towards the northwest of the UK, starting to see some outbreaks of rain pushing their way in. They're going to become more prevalent as we go through the day. As I mentioned, in any clearer spells, we are going to see temperatures taking a bit of a drop, so similar to last night, a bit fresh, perhaps a touch of frost in a few spots. Then through tomorrow, there is more cloud around generally, but many places will see some brightness, some sunshine breaking through at times, and towards the northwest, there will be some outbreaks of rain, more persistent rain starting to edge its way in later on. That's going to push its way through later on this week. Many areas, though, staying dry through the day, and temperatures tomorrow in the southeast higher than today.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
you could be the proud owner of a brand new Benevan 122. This very latest 2026 model comfortably sleeps 4, comes complete with built-in kitchen, compact washroom, and is worth over £67,000. But that's not all, as we'll also give you a further £25,000 in tax-free cash to spend on anything you like in the coming year. For a chance to win a camper van and cash, text prize to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry starts at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB20 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of May. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience, because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes and Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Okoye, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News, the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There, you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
It's 11 o'clock on Tuesday, the 3rd of March, live across the UK, Britain's Newsroom with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates.
Well, is the war in the Middle East destroying our relationship with America?
It's my duty to judge what is in Britain's national interest. That is what I've done, and I stand by it.
Well, today the President claims the government is pandering to Muslim voters by not backing the war against Iran. It seems Tory leader Kemi Badenoch agrees.
Across the UK, there are groups whose political loyalties when it comes to conflicts in the Middle East do not align with British national interest.
And the US Secretary for War, Pete Hegseth, has also taken a swipe at Britain.
Capable partners are good partners. Unlike so many of our traditional allies who wring their hands, clutch their pearls, hemming and hawing about the use of force.
And Israel's President Isaac Herzog urged Western leaders to do more in the face of ongoing aggression. This is what he told GB News earlier.
I think it's a moment of truth for leaders in the free world, and Britain is a top leader in the free world. Honestly, we know and we share a lot of interest together for many years, and I think the picture is very clear.
Meanwhile, overnight, US and Israeli missiles have hit key targets in Iran, as America has warned that a big wave of strikes is coming.
Hardest hits are yet to come from the US military. The next phase will be even more punishing on Iran than it is right now.
But don't worry, Britain won't get involved because, if you guessed it, international law.
We are not joining the strikes, but we will continue our defensive actions in the region.
Well, and after that drone strike on RAF Akrotiri in Cyprus, France and Greece are sending warships to protect our base there.
Meanwhile, Britain's first evacuation flight from the United Arab Emirates has touched down at Heathrow overnight, while thousands of Brits are still left stranded in the Gulf this morning.
And this afternoon, the Chancellor will deliver her spring statement.
Rachel Reeves will emerge from that door behind me with her spring statement. She says this: my economic plan is the right one for Britain, but will she rip it all up because of the chaos and the war in the Middle East?
In last year's spring statements, the Chancellor failed to mention the words farming or agriculture whatsoever. But will things be different this time around? With just over 1 hour to go, we're asking farmers what they'd like to see in this year's spring statement.
Inflation-busting pay rise incoming. MP's basic salary will rise 5% every year to £110,000 by the end of this Parliament. She's obviously going to have to have ripped it up, really, and started, well, not all from scratch, but the impact on borrowing costs, the impact on oil prices, gas prices up 60% on the wholesale markets.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, normally the spring statement is not particularly full of big announcements, but it's a time of extraordinary risk for the economy, and we've gone into this conflict, well, we haven't chosen this conflict, obviously, but we've gone into this conflict with huge amounts of debt, already high borrowing costs, inflation on the way down, but still high from a historic level. It's not looking good for Rachel Reeves and the economy.
And, of course, there are some hikes in fuel duty. Pressure now for her to cancel those because of the rise in oil prices and the wholesale markets because of what's happening in Iran.
Yeah, and the situation does show how connected the globe is, and the Middle East is so important, mainly because it does produce so much of the world's oil. Well, do let us know what you think about the conflict and everything else we're discussing today by visiting
gbnews.com/your say. But first, here's the news with Katie Bowen.
Miriam, Andrew, thank you and good morning. The headlines at 11:04. President Donald Trump says he is very disappointed with Sir Keir Starmer's approach to the war in Iran, adding it was sad to see that the relationship between America and Britain is not what it once was. The president's comments to the Sun newspaper come as the US says it is continuing to take decisive action against imminent threats in Iran, with the war in the Middle East entering its 4th day. Overnight, US Secretary of State Marco Rubio said that the hardest hits on Iran are yet to come, adding he would not give away details of our tactical efforts. This morning, the Israeli military began launching new strikes on Tehran and Beirut, issuing evacuation warnings for parts of southern Lebanon. IDF soldiers are now operating in southern Lebanon and are stationed near the border. In a post on Truth Social this morning, President Trump said that the United States military has enough weapons stocked for a forever war and that his country is ready to win big. 2 drones attacked the US embassy in Riyadh, resulting in a limited fire. And today, the US embassy announced that their embassy in Kuwait was closed until further notice. Iran has threatened to fire on any ships in the Strait of Hormuz, creating a major threat to global energy supplies. Israeli President Isaac Herzog spoke to GB News Breakfast about Britain's role in the conflict.
This empire of evil will not rest until you cut its wings and make sure that there's a different vision for the region with a different reality in Tehran, without their ballistic missiles and potential nuclear program and without their proxies all over the region. It's a moment of truth for leaders in the free world, and Britain is a top leader in the free world. Honestly, we know and we share a lot of interest together for many years, and I think the picture is very clear.
Well, the first evacuation flight back to Britain from Abu Dhabi landed at Heathrow Airport last night. That's as Air France has cancelled all flights to and from the Middle East until Thursday. More than 100,000 Britons have registered for help in the Middle East, with more than 300,000 in the region overall. Yesterday, Sir Keir Starmer said the government was working on plans to get people home safely, while Foreign Office sources said no evacuation was imminent, but the government was preparing for potential scenarios if commercial flights remain grounded. Elsewhere, the Chancellor is set to deliver her spring statement today, insisting that she will stick to her plan despite surging oil and gas prices in the wake of the Iran conflict. Rachel Reeves is expected to say that the economy is stronger and more secure as a result of decisions taken by the government, pointing to falling inflation and interest rates cuts. But the statement comes just weeks after the Bank of England downgraded its growth rating for the UK economy. The Chancellor's statement will come in response to the Office for Budget Responsibility's latest economic forecast. And the Commissioner of the Metropolitan Police has said he understands why some women still do not trust the force. His comments come on the 5th anniversary of the murder of Sarah Everard. Sir Mark Rowley said several ghastly cases of police officers committing awful offences against women were bound to affect people's trust in the UK's biggest police force. The Commissioner said 1,500 people had been, quote, rooted out since 2022 and were no longer working for the force, many because of inappropriate behaviour towards women. 5 years ago this evening, Miss Everard was walking home when she was abducted and later raped and killed by Wayne Cousins, who was then a serving police officer. Cousins was later sentenced to a whole life term for her murder. A vigil will be held in honour of Sarah Everard on Clapham Common this evening. Those are the latest GBNews headlines. Now let's take a quick look at the all-important markets.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GBNews financial report.
Well, the pound will buy you $1.33 and €1.1465. The price of gold is £3,966.92 per ounce, and the FTSE 100 is at 10,482 points.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GBNews financial report.
Hello and welcome back to Britain's Newsroom. We're live across the United Kingdom on GB News with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates.
Well, Donald Trump's warned the Prime Minister the UK is pandering to Muslim voters by not wholeheartedly supporting his war against Iran, saying Britain is no longer a recognisable country.
Well, we're joined now in the studio by GB News' Home and Security correspondent Mark White. Mark, if you read this interview, which is with The Sun, Trump is asked a rather leading question, which is, do you think that Starmer's reluctance to support the mission has to do with Muslim voters? And I think Trump says something like, well, possibly. So I would call that a leading question, but nevertheless, it is remarkable how little support Starmer wants to give Trump compared to some of our other Western allies.
Yeah, I mean, on that particular point about Muslim voters, certainly, you know, the question is a leading question that elicited the answer it did. But for 2 days running now, the President of the United States has appeared in British newspapers criticising our Prime Minister and our government and the response, or lack of response, really, to what is going on in the efforts to go after the Iranian regime. And it's clear now, as we've discussed, that we had blocked the United States from using our bases in Diego Garcia, RAF Fairford, in this country as well. And what's the actual real-world consequence of not allowing us or the United States to fly from Diego Garcia? They had to send their strategic B-2 bombers, their stealth bombers, 37-hour round trips from the Whiteman Air Force Base in Missouri. I mean, that's ridiculous. You expect a two-man crew in a B-2 to then be alert and responsive going over a war zone.
Just two men in the B-2, 37 hours.
Yeah.
Gosh.
And do we think the Prime Minister changed his position after the drone landed at the RAF base in Cyprus, or because he thought it was going to be, he thought it would be potentially a target? Which I'm not quite sure of the timeline on this.
No, they I mean, they happened around about the same time, so, but they were, I think, unrelated in that sense. We think the drones, plural, because it was more than one, but one got through and struck the runway. We think the drones were fired from the Hezbollah terrorist group, the proxy group for Iran in southern Lebanon, because obviously much closer to Cyprus, rather than, you know, a drone coming all the way from Iran and trying to fly over multiple countries. Although they do fly at low level, which makes them more difficult for some of the radar systems to track. But I mean, I think as far as the decision by Keir Starmer is concerned, it came before that particular incident at Cyprus. Well, it came after, remember, the very significant strike on the joint base in Bahrain, where the US and the British were housed, and happened, as confirmed by our Defence Secretary, just metres away from 300 military personnel who were stationed at that base. So, yes, he's given them permission, but limited permission. He is still tying one hand behind the back of the Americans and saying, you can only use our bases for operations that take out the likes of missile launchers. You can't use them, for instance, for decapitation strikes against regime figureheads. So they're still restricted. And obviously that's deeply, deeply irritating for the American government. And that's why you've got Donald Trump saying in terms just how disappointed he is with a key ally and how he's never seen a situation before where they have been denied the use of such a vital base.
And praising the French, which is quite an interesting concept.
Well, talking of the French, I mean, this is absolutely humiliating. The French are sending warships, missile and drone defence systems to protect our base in Cyprus. The Hellenic Navy, the Greek Navy, are sending frigates and warplanes to protect our base in Cyprus. Not one of our Royal Navy warships is in the Mediterranean or indeed the Persian Gulf. They are all involved in either sort of maintenance periods or they are sort of elsewhere, but they're certainly not in that region. In fact, I can tell you that the only ship is HMS Duncan, is the only available ship from our fleet of, a very small fleet, by the way, of Type 45 air defence destroyers. Now, they are highly effective ships, and their task is to shoot down aerial threats. They're normally used for the likes of protecting a carrier, an aircraft carrier strike group. They're part of that normally, but of course they would be highly effective hanging offshore from RAF Akrotiri and shooting down any aerial threats coming into that area. That's what the French will do. That's what the Hellenic Navy will do. And our one available ship, HMS Duncan, of the Type 45 destroyers, still seems to be in Portsmouth, with no indication that it's going to be deployed anytime soon to the Mediterranean or the Persian Gulf. We've only got a couple of active Type 23 frigates available now. The rest have all gone. They're so aged that most of them have been sold off, and a few are in sort of refit, trying to keep them seaworthy, until our new fleet of Type 26 frigates and Type 31 frigates come through. But the nearest one of them to active service is 2 years away. They're still being fitted out and then need to go through a trials and acceptance period and then worked up before they get to full readiness. It's a woeful state that our once mighty Royal Navy is in. And it really is actually quite shameful. We've seen before with crises in the Middle East in particular, where our citizens have not been able to get out because of air space closures, that the Royal Navy has stepped in with our landing platforms, our kind of our various ships that we can use to go out to that area and carry large numbers of people. We don't have that anymore. We sold off our marine capable landing ships. We've got some Royal Fleet auxiliary landing ships, but, you know, nowhere near apparently. Now, wait a minute. Breaking news on this. Maybe they've been listening. My producer, Tom, has just let me know that the Times is reporting that HMS Duncan is likely to be deployed to defend RAF Akrotiri.
How long is it going to take to get
Hooray!
there?
Thank heavens for
Is it going to go today? Is it going to be like the EU? Wait till next week?
Likely to be deployed. Does that? It doesn't sound like it is.
Well, it might not even be
being
staffed yet. I mean, we don't know which state of readiness.
It came in and out of port in recent days, so it's there. It's got a full crew, and it's certainly available. So, but the thing is, you know, we're now 2 days after the drone strike on RAF Akrotiri. Well, a day and a half after it, and we're only now thinking about this. It's not as if we were not warned of an impending conflict. The very fact that Donald Trump clearly asked some time ago to be able to use the bases to launch this action and was denied tells you that we knew in advance, but yet we've not pre-positioned, apart from combat planes in Akrotiri, but in terms of other sort of naval resources, we have not pre-positioned anything in that region.
And how many miles was that? Did those B-2 bombers have to fly in addition? 37,000?
Oh, well, 37 hours. It was the flight, so I wouldn't even know how many thousand miles.
It must be over 20,000 miles, wasn't it?
But, I mean, what's a journey to Australia? It's
24-hour flight, commercial jet.
It's a day and a half.
So 37 there and back.
Two-man
so,
crew. I didn't realise. Gosh,
shocking.
Extraordinary.
Mark, always good to talk to you.
Absolutely.
Mark White,
Thank you so
who's
much.
our Home Security Editor.
Well, joining us now is Israeli Defence Force International spokesperson, Lieutenant Colonel Nadav Shoshani. Lieutenant Colonel, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. We've just been discussing the British aspect of this conflict, or rather our lack of involvement. But tell us a little bit more about what's happening in Israel. We understand that the IDF has moved into Lebanon this morning to tackle the threat from Hezbollah.
in the war against Israel, and they decided unprovokedly to fire rockets and UAVs towards Israeli civilians in northern Israel. So what we did overnight, I wouldn't call it moved into Lebanon. What we did overnight is take those very specific points on the borderline, after the border, but on the borderline area, the exact points that Hezbollah took after October 7th, stood there and started firing RPGs and anti-tank missiles against our civilians, which made us evacuate 60,000 civilians. So what we did is take those points to prevent an option of them infiltrating into Israeli communities in northern Israel, and to prevent this direct type of fire that you cannot intercept or even have sirens for from the civilians in northern Israel, because we see the possibility of Hezbollah expanding their attacks against Israeli civilians in northern Israel and all across Israel.
Sorry.
And in terms of the attacks in Iran, we're hearing that one of the potential problems that Israel and the US could face in the coming weeks is running out of interceptor missiles. Is that a serious threat? Are you surprised at the level of retaliation that the Iranian regime has issued so far?
No, actually, if I were to describe the situation on the ground, we are seeing great success in missile hunting and in hunting the launchers. Iran has maybe 10 times the missiles than they have the launchers. So we're hunting those launchers, taking out dozens of them, a very significant amount of their missile launchers percentage-wise, which is creating a bottleneck for them. You don't feel it in your side of the world, but the ballistic missile fire has been diminishing every day of this operation moving forward. And the way it's currently going, we're able to diminish their offensive capabilities quicker than they're able to take away from our defensive capabilities. And that's what we plan on doing. Aerial supremacy, dominating Iranian skies, and taking out their missiles, even in real time, before they're launched.
It may be an odd question, Lieutenant Colonel, but how does Israeli intelligence find these missile launchers?
Well, it's an accumulation of also intelligence that's been built up for years, but also once you have aerial supremacy, you're able to fly around in Iranian skies and wait to see someone move or make a mistake, and then you're able to hunt them down in real time. So it's a combination of intelligence and a combination of an eye in the sky that is tracking everything that's happening and really have a wide net over Iranian skies. The combination of the U.S. Armed Force and the Israeli Air Force working above Iranian skies together, sharing information, sharing the spaces, making sure we're covering as much space as we can. Aerial supremacy gives us an advantage the more we move on in this operation. One of the first things we did was actually target their aerial defense systems, exactly so we could achieve this for days to come to control Iranian skies.
And what's happened to the Iranian Air Force? Is it depleted, or have you destroyed it completely?
Well, the Iranian Air Force is rather weak. They don't have a lot of aircraft. They have a lot of UAVs, suicide UAVs that are extremely dangerous. You've been speaking about the UAV attack on Cyprus. We've seen that for years from Iran and their proxies in the region, and their ballistic missiles. Those are the main conventional weapons that they use that are still standing. We've been able to diminish that a lot, but there's still a real threat, not just for Israel, for the entire region, as you've been speaking before.
And what comes next, assuming that Israel and the US win this war from a military point of view, that those missile launchers are knocked out, that perhaps much more damage is done to the Iranian nuclear program? What can we expect next in terms of regime change? Isn't there even a possibility that actually things could become worse, that a worse regime could take the place of the one that is now on its knees?
Well, before you go out on an operation, you always have to weigh the benefits, the risks, the opportunities before you take the operation. And for us and for our American partners, it was very clear. The risk of inaction is much larger than the risks of action. The Iranians were building a ballistic missile arsenal that could be what we're seeing right now could have been, if we haven't acted, just a preview of Iran just bombing all the region and even Europe in a few years from now. Iran is also fortifying and concealing their nuclear program so they can later on, when they go back to advancing it, it's too late and you can't reach it or bomb it. So we weighed the opportunities and the risks and understood that the risk of inaction is bigger than the risk of this operation.
Well, Lieutenant Colonel Nadav Shoshani, thank you so much for joining us this morning live from Israel. It's fantastic to get information like that from the ground. And we've been reading this morning about some of the extraordinary Israeli intelligence feats. For example, hacking the traffic cameras in Tehran to observe the movements of the Ayatollah's bodyguards over a number of years.
Yeah,
it's extraordinary.
Because they knew where the bodyguards were, they knew where the Ayatollah was.
Absolutely.
And that's how they were able to get in with such precision just a few days ago.
Their ships are in the right place.
Their ships are certainly in the right place. And we have this breaking news that we may be sending a destroyer from Portsmouth, but when? Well, war doesn't wait.
No. Well, someone who's not going to wait is the Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, because she's going to leave number 11 Downing Street any minute now as she sets off to deliver her spring statement, if she can get past Christopher Hope.
Yes, we'll be going through that more with Nigel Nelson and Piers Morgan, who's 50 years old today. Piers Pottinger, forgive me.
That would be a surprise.
Who's 50 years old today. Well, that's what he tells us anyway. This is Britain's Newsroom on GBNews.
Bold. They are under no illusion. Brave. Are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines. The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it? From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos. What I'm going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak. Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Welcome back. It's 28 minutes past 11. You're watching and listening to Britain's Newsroom. We're live across the United Kingdom with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates.
We're going across to GB News Deputy Political Editor Tom Harwood, who's in Rachel Reeves' constituency this morning, of course, just minutes before she delivers her spring statement. Tom.
That's right. It's a huge amount of concern here and across the country. I've come to a petrol station in Rachel Reeves' constituency where things aren't looking too bad right now, but I'm told that the price has already ticked up compared to yesterday, and the fear is that these prices will continue to rise. So big pressure now on Rachel Reeves with regard to whether or not she continues with her plan for that fuel duty escalator, or whether there will be further freezes. Of course, all in the context of the ongoing crisis in the Middle East, the war that more countries are being drawn into, the seeming blockage of the Strait of Hormuz, where 20% of the world's oil and gas filters through. No ships seem to be going through that strait. And just yesterday, we learnt that Qatar, the largest LNG, natural gas exporter in the world, the largest single company, has shut down production, at least for now. So on all fuel, oil and gas alike, huge concern. People will be very, very concerned about how much higher these prices are going to go, because it doesn't look like we're going to be at the lowest point right now, for the short term at least. The only way is up.
That's Tom Harwood. Thanks, Tom. More from you later in the programme. Now we've got our panel back, Nigel Nelson and Piers Pottinger. Now, quite a political moment, Piers. The Green Party have surged into second place in a national poll, YouGov poll.
Yeah.
Labour on 23%.
Reform 23, Greens are now on 21.
Yeah, and Labour and the Tories way down on 16 points.
16,
but the Greens surged. I mean, they're now becoming a serious national force to contend with.
Well, except every Green MP is a hypocrite by their own doing, actually, because in the Green Party manifesto,
which people should read.
Which people should read.
They really
because if they read it, no sane person would have voted Green.
I think that's
but anyway,
right.
One of their things, principal linchpins, is the abolition of the monarchy. Totally abolish the monarchy. If they were in government, that's one of the first things they'd do. So, in order to be an MP, you have to swear an oath of allegiance to the monarch.
You do, indeed.
And all the Greens have done this. So on the one hand, they've sworn an allegiance to King Charles, and on the other hand, they wish to abolish him.
Chop off his head.
Now, even the despicable Gerry Adams, one of the worst enemies of this country,
Sinn Féin
when
man.
he became an MP, was elected an MP in Northern Ireland, he didn't take up his seat because he refused to take the oath of allegiance, because he was anti, of course, the monarchy.
Yeah.
Now, at least for once, I mean, you'd never hear me stand up for a horrible murderer like Adams, but in this case, he is superior to the Greens because the Greens show what a worthless, pointless party, hypocrites they all are. And the sad thing is, they used cleverly. They're very clever communicators. This man Polanski is a clever communicator. He's got a lot of appeal to particularly young voters, I believe. There's not much green about him, incidentally, and I should think his parents are horrified at his anti-Jewish stance, being born a Jew. I mean, but everywhere you look in the Green Party, particularly at their manifesto, it's nonsense and it's crazy and it would never work. However, they are gathering momentum in a very dangerous way for the future government of this country. It affects all the other parties, and it particularly affects the Conservatives and Reform, who will have a real problem in the next general election, because if the Greens and the Lib Dems and Labour form a pact, that will keep the right out of power forever.
And I think this is where we're going with the new sort of politics that's coming up, that where we were effectively a two-party system, we've now turned into a five-party one, which means that if you look at a general election result, really hard to call at the moment.
Yes.
Because we could be in a situation of coalition. What it looks like is happening here is the Greens got loads of publicity because of the Gorton and Denton by-election. As a result of that, people have said, oh, yeah, maybe they'll be OK. But it comes back to what happened in Wales in Caerphilly. Is there a mood going on that you'll vote for anybody?
And remind people, there was a by-election there last year and people voted Plaid, and a lot of people voted Plaid to keep reform out.
Keep reform out.
Yes.
So you've got to ask yourself, if Gorton and Denton, the Green vote was substantially...
It could be a one-off, though, because we do know that the Muslim vote encouraged Muslims to vote Green. There are only 20 constituents in the country, of which Gorton and Denton is one of them, that have only over 30% of Muslim voters. So certainly in the next election, at least, it could be quite an isolated incident.
I think they've got broader appeal. There's no doubt
it's true.
that they're now the major raving loony party. And I'm afraid the monster raving loony party, Sir Oinkalot, who did well there, his vote was increased by 0.4%. But then the Greens are very dangerous, very worrying.
Piers, Nigel, and happy birthday, Piers. Enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you for your contribution this morning.
Here's your 60-second news update now with Katie Bowen.
Good morning. The headlines at 11:34. A breaking update this morning. The Ministry of Defence is, quote, considering sending HMS Duncan to the eastern Mediterranean to defend the UK's base in Cyprus, RAF Akrotiri. The development comes after the base was struck by an Iranian-made drone on Sunday. Well, President Donald Trump says he is very disappointed with Sir Keir Starmer's approach to the war in Iran, adding it was sad to see that the relationship between America and Britain is not what it once was. Elsewhere, the Chancellor is set to deliver her spring statement shortly, insisting that she'll stick to her plan despite surging oil and gas prices in the wake of the Iran conflict. Rachel Reeves is expected to say that the economy is stronger and more secure as a result of decisions taken by the government. And the Commissioner of the Metropolitan Police, Sir Mark Rowley, has said he understands why some women still do not trust the force. His comments come on the 5th anniversary of the murder of Sarah Everard. Those are the headlines for now. More news at the top of the hour.
For all the latest from GB News whilst you're on the go, get the GB News app. Scan the QR code now to download or visit gbnews.com/app.
Well, coming up next, it is the spring statement this afternoon. Will the Chancellor have any good news, even a slither of it, for anyone?
Doubt it. This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Hello, welcome along to your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. For many of us, it's a day of early spring sunshine, but probably staying fairly cloudy over much of the Midlands, parts of South Wales and South West England. An area of high pressure is dominating, but there is an old weather front just lying across central and southern parts of England and Wales. It is producing a little bit of rain and drizzle here and there, so a bit damp at times, Devon, Cornwall, parts of South Wales, but generally it's a dry day, apart from a few showers in northern Scotland. Much of Scotland, Northern Ireland, Northern England, fine and sunny, and some sunny spells too across East Anglia and the south east, where temperatures likely to get to 15, 16 degrees, not quite as warm as yesterday, but not far off, pretty mild for most places. Temperatures closer to average further north, but in the sunshine, feeling very pleasant indeed. Now, with the clear skies, temperatures will be falling quite sharply as we go through this evening. Still 1 or 2 showers possible across the Northern Isles, but the breeze easing down here. It's light winds and clear skies for Northern Ireland, much of Northern England well into the evening. Still quite cloudy, the skies over the Midlands and Wales at this time. A weak old weather front just edging back further north. Still maybe producing the odd little bit of drizzle, but most places dry. Until we see some showery rain just heading its way northwards up towards maybe Anglesey and then into eastern parts of Northern Ireland later in the night, into southwest Scotland by morning. Ahead of that, of course, northern Scotland will be quite cold. There will be a frost here. Elsewhere, most places just about staying above. Could see some pockets of isolated frost in rural spots. Could be some mist and fog around as well, which may take a while to clear. Quite a grey start tomorrow across eastern England. A damp start for the east of Northern Ireland, southwest Scotland, Glasgow and Belfast seeing some outbreaks of rain. Glasgow may stay a bit dull and damp all day as we see some showery rain drifting across Scotland. The far north staying dry. Most of England and Wales brightening up with plenty of sunshine and a touch warmer tomorrow in the southeast.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Dordme, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up? About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's 20 to 12. You're watching and listening to Britain's Newsroom. We're live on GB News with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates.
So today, Rachel Reeves will double down on her budget as the right economic plan as she confirms her spring statement for the economy. She'll be leaving number 11 down at any moment. We'll be there for that moment.
Well, let's speak to our GB News national reporter, Sophie Reaper. Sophie, good morning. Thank you for joining us. What can we expect coming up in the House of Commons this afternoon?
Well, good morning to you. I don't know if anyone knows what we can expect, but I know a lot of farmers up and down the United Kingdom will be hoping for something, just one little nugget of hope. That's after last year's statement. They got nothing. They weren't even mentioned in last year's spring statement. So to talk about that now, we're joined by the co-owner of this farm here in Cheshire, Andrew. Andrew, thanks so much for joining us again this morning. Now, this morning we talked, of course, about all of the difficulties our farmers have been facing over the last 18 months or so. But this morning we've had some breaking news, haven't we, about fuel. Gas prices have gone up 93%. That just seems incredible. But how are our farmers going to be impacted?
Well, it's early at the moment. I've tried to make phone calls this morning, as I did yesterday morning on the fuel, and I wouldn't say the industry's at a state of panic at the moment, but no one knows where it's going. So I know this morning fertilizer, oil prices were withdrawn last night, so that's going to cause a massive problem because, as you can see, we're just at the time of the season now where all crops need to be fed, and we've got massive uncertainty of fertiliser in the country. You know, we've already seen a massive reduction in our own produced fertiliser, so it all leaves us vulnerable to imported. And that should be a warning for food as well, realistically. You know, we shouldn't be relying on imported foods. So, yeah, so to not have any certainties this morning of what we're going to be able to have at this moment in time is, you know, is a big problem, and it's just driving costs further up. And with fuel, we've seen fuel go up, spiked up yesterday. We saw commodity prices lift slightly last night, and then they've come back this morning. So all I can say is the gap is getting bigger and bigger again.
Now, if we just take a look behind you, you can see really the scale of how much fertiliser you might need on a daily, on a monthly, on a yearly basis. So that in itself is quite frightening. But then when you take in all of those other factors, it's a very scary time to be a farmer, isn't it, Andrew?
Yeah, it's a real worry now. It's a real worry. You know, we've had low commodity prices for the last 18 months, and that's been a real head scratcher to start with. No one's really had the money or the free cash or the cash flow to stockpile fertiliser and diesel over the last 12 months, not knowing this was coming or whether it was or it wasn't coming. So everyone works on a sort of like a monthly basis. So it's going to lead to some real big problems this spring. And also on the back of that, a lot of contracts, certainly on the potato side, have already been signed. And they've been signed on a price reduction this year. And I would imagine not all fertiliser had been purchased. So, to reiterate what I said before, the driving costs up and the income's being driven down yet again, and no one will be wanting to do anything about it at this moment in time because we have no good signals coming from the government.
Well, on the government, of course, it's the spring statement in, I think, is it just under an hour's time now. I know last year Rachel Reeves didn't mention farmers whatsoever. If she were to mention farmers this year, what would you be hoping for?
Well, it's really hard to comprehend what we'd want. I don't think there's any magic waving of the wand to fix our economy. Our industry, should I say, not economy. The economy's broken to start with, so that's what leads to our industry being under the cosh. There's a cost of living crisis. I don't believe they're doing anything to help that at all. So yeah, all I would say is she needs to get in the room with some real farmers and to sit down and see what the problems are and how she can help in making the return better in our pocket.
Andrew, thanks so much for joining us again. We'll get your reaction after the spring statement. There we go. Just under an hour to go. I know farmers up and down the country, like many other business owners, like many other industries, will be hoping for some kind of stability from the Chancellor. But I suppose, just like this, only time will tell.
All right, Sophie, that's Sophie Rupert on the farm in Cheshire. Thanks so much for that. Now, up next, MPs are set for an inflation-busting pay rise, 5%. Do they deserve it? I'm not sure that Miriam and I will agree on this.
That's true. But first, if you're in search of some holiday sun, here's the forecast for some of our top European destinations.
You're looking happy.
Well, the forecast looks good.
So you've sorted the travel insurance then?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Bit of a mixed bag weather-wise, looking across southern Europe at the moment. Yes, there's some wet weather in the west. We had Storm Regina pushing through Portugal, now bringing some rain across parts of Spain, even down towards the Canaries. Further east, a few showers for Italy, but across Greece it's actually largely dry on Wednesday. Some decent sunshine, and with that some decent warmth as well, with temperatures rising high teens, possibly low 20s. Still some further rain in Spain to come later this week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, this is Jubes & Co with you.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie is here. GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection. Tune in to GB News, anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Okoye, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word. Well, you don't need me to tell you there is a cost of living crisis going on out there, and MPs have been awarded a inflation-busting 5% pay rise over the next 3 years, which would take their salary to £110,000 by the end of this Parliament.
Well, we're joined now by John O'Connell, who's the Chief Executive of the Taxpayers Alliance. John, good morning. Thank you for joining the show. Now, I've read the Taxpayers Alliance response to this news. I think it'd be safe to say that you don't think it's a justified pay rise.
Thanks for having me, Andrew, and hi, Miriam, as well. It's at a time when everybody else is struggling. Inflation's running at 3%. MPs find themselves on the end of a 5% pay rise. They'll be in receipt of 98,500 come April, and then, as you say, it'll be rising to 110,000 by the end of the Parliament. Now, the reason we find in this particularly galling is that GDP per capita, that's the technical term for how well whether we're better off or not, has actually been performing really badly. In fact, we're in a personal recession if you look at the numbers per person as opposed to the economy overall. We're actually doing worse, not better. And if MPs' pay had been held constant to GDP per capita since 2010, they would only be on 81,000 at this present time, which shows that their long-term policy making, the long-term choices they make for all of us, are not good for families, for businesses, or for the economy. So we're looking at things like infrastructure, tax cuts. You know, Nick Clegg's famous quote in 2010, he didn't want to see a new nuclear power station because we wouldn't see the benefits till 2021. He didn't have the foresight to look 10 years ahead at our energy needs. So if MPs are unwilling to engage on that long-term discussion, we think that they should have their pay held back accordingly.
Go on. So perhaps there is another angle to this, though, which is that MPs' pay is not about just rewarding those who are currently MPs. It's also about attracting people to stand for election in the future. And I think whilst I'm sure the majority of our viewers will probably say in response to this story, MPs are paid too much, they'll probably also say our MPs aren't any good and we need better MPs. And I know plenty of people who are at the top of their career earning far, far more than an MP who would never even consider going into Parliament because of the pay in comparison to other responsible jobs. Of course, it is a lot of money. Nobody's arguing that. But if we want to attract the best and the brightest, should we really be thinking about penny pinching when it comes to 3.5% here, 5% there?
Well, I'd say that we need to change the incentive frameworks. If we look at the civil service as well, we'd be all for paying people more if there were smaller teams operating at a very high level, delivering for people who pay the bills. But at present, we don't have that. So I worry that if we just boosted the pay, all we'd end up with is just the same, a poor quality House of Commons who are just being paid more. So we need to change the incentive framework so that they're making better long-term decisions for all of us. Yes, pay does come into that, but if you linked it to something like GDP per capita, you've got people in the private sector who'd say, fine, I reckon I could do a good job all the same. So
Except many people would say, well, there's no way I can change that in 5 years or 8 years, which is the average term of MP. I'm going to lose my job. I may never be employed again because of the things I've stood up for in Parliament. The risk-reward ratio would just go down and down and down.
But isn't the optic here, John, if I can just jump in here with Miriam, nurses are getting 3%. Nurses are getting 3%. Why are they not getting 5%? Teachers are getting 6.5% over 3 years. So the MP's pay rise is smashing what other public sector workers, who I would argue people think deserve far more, nurses and teachers.
That's part of it, and you know, if you look at parliamentary staffers, their pay rises are being tagged to 3.5%. And IPSA said that MPs are dealing with more casework and more abuse, whereas staffers are the ones that pick up a lot of that slack. So they're being held back while the MPs get more. So yeah, I think there is that kind of, you know, the economy more widely is struggling. Pay rises are not going particularly well for the wider economy. So why are MPs being insulated from that reality, particularly when they're the ones making the decisions quite often that hold back the economy more generally anyway?
And they'd be complaining in France, they'd be delighted in France, John, £74,000 an MP earns in France, 66 in Sweden, 83,000 in Norway. I mean, they aren't doing badly.
194,000 in Austria.
Yeah, but they're not doing badly with their European counterparts.
No, and that was part of the IPSA's decision-making in this round, was to look at benchmarking. So there are countries like the US, like Austria, as Miriam said, and Ireland that pay more. And there are countries that pay less. You know, do we have better quality MPs than the Norwegians? I don't know. But, you know, does pay come into it there? I'm not sure.
John, I'm so sorry. We are going to have to leave it there. But thank you so much for coming on this morning. And I'm sure you reflect most of our viewers' point of view.
Sure he does. That's it from Britain's Newsroom. Up next, it's Chopper and Gloria, because they're going to be taking you through the Chancellor's spring statement. We'll see you tomorrow. Well, you still see us today?
Oh. Hello and welcome back. We'll see you very shortly for this spring statement. Can't wait for the start.
Very good.
Hello, very good morning to you. I'm here from the Met Office with your GB News weather update. Now, it is a bit of a chilly start for some of us, but through today there's going to be a lot of dry, a lot of sunny weather around for most of us. Not all, because there is a weakening front running across parts of eastern England through the Midlands towards the southwest, bringing a bit more cloud here. There will be a few spots of drizzly rain, but towards the north, across much of northern England, a large chunk of Scotland and also Northern Ireland, it's dry and it's sunny with just a few showers across the far north of Scotland. In the north, temperatures just about scraping into double figures, a bit milder than this towards the south. We're looking at highs of around 14 or 15 Celsius, so feeling relatively warm, particularly if you do get any of that sunshine. Like I said, a few showers across the far north of Scotland, particularly for Orkney and Shetland. These continuing as we go through the evening, but across much of Scotland, Northern Ireland, Northern England, we're ending the day on a largely clear note. That does mean, again, similar to last night, temperatures will drop, and so through the night we are going to see a bit of a frost developing in some places. Meanwhile, across central southern England and Wales, more cloud here, but there will be some breaks around, so some clear spells. And again, where you get the clear spells, we could see temperatures dropping, and there could be some mist, some fog, some murkiness in a few places as well. Towards the northwest of the UK, starting to see some outbreaks of rain pushing their way in. They're going to become more prevalent as we go through the day. As I mentioned, in any clearer spells, we are going to see temperatures taking a bit of a drop, so similar to last night, a bit fresh, perhaps a touch of frost in a few spots. Then through tomorrow, there is more cloud around generally, but many places will see some brightness, some sunshine breaking through at times, and towards the northwest, there'll be some outbreaks of rain, more persistent rain starting to edge its way in later on. That's going to push its way through later on this week. Many areas, though, staying dry through the day, and temperatures tomorrow in the southeast higher than today.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
A
A camper van and cash could be yours in our very latest Great British Giveaway. You could be driving away in this brand new Benavan 122. This 2026 model, worth over £67,000, comes with all of the mod cons you'd expect. And that's not all, as you'll also get an incredible £25,000 in tax-free cash to boost your bank account this year. For a chance to win a camper van and cash, text prize to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB20 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of May. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Dordme, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk
No,
now?
that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News, the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.